What's up, guys? It's Farmer Jack, and we're here in the nursery. And I've been doing this growing food at home thing for a long time now. And I've learned a lot of things, trials and tribulations, but a lot of successes and a lot of wins. And it's just amazing. Progress really is happiness, right? So I see that in the garden. And it's amazing to facilitate that. So anyways, what's really exciting about what we get to do here is we get to start the plants, the harvest, the crop rotations, if you will, of all of these plants: peppers, tomatoes, kale, parsley, cilantro, basil, parsley. I said parsley, eggplant, all of it, sorrel, marigolds, calendula. And it's been phenomenal. We've gotten tens of thousands of plants out of this nursery this season. And that makes me proud to say, like, it's been a leg up from many of our other seasons. But the point is that we get plants to the people, and it's here locally. And that's my main message, that like, I'm trying to close the loop, right? Bring it closer, bring the power, just get closer to source. A lot of ever since, here, let me just paint a picture for y'all. Ever since we started Urban Abundance, ever since I started it 7-8 years ago now, amazing. There was always a disconnect. There was always like how do I get quality, local, organic plants? It's hard to do. They come from, wherever, from these companies from far, far away. And some of them are great, some of them don't hit, but no one was really there to help guide me. And that was kind of the whole idea behind what we did. We didn't just anyone could go buy one of these kits online for $500 or whatever and put it together. But it's like one of those things, like buying a guitar and do you want to fast track it, learn from a pro? Or do you want to fiddle around for decades and decades? That's kind of the whole idea with what we do. We just 0 to 100. And that's the beauty of really being able to harvest and be empowered and not be, it's really an identity thing. That's what I found out. So I'm there in the garden to be their guide, right? And by doing that, we need to be able to show them where these plants come from, kind of get down to basics. And anyways, we could use ChatGPT and all these cool resources we put together, my masterclass guidebook, books, YouTube videos, our how to grow guide, all these things. And we can have all the knowledge, but at the end of the day, it's all about being out in the garden. That's really where the action, that's where the progress begins. And that's where I see it, at least. You pop into a garden and then 40 minutes later, you look back. It's a whole different experience. And that's what I love. And it's from planting and seeding and engaging with the garden. So I digress. My main message is that there has been a disconnect without having plants. So it's kind of like when I started Urban Abundance. If there isn't something in the world like an edible landscaping crew, none of what I knew, at least from where I was at the moment in time, there was no edible landscapers. How can I create that? Wow, that's cool. You can't even hear it. Yeah. So we'll just let it run. I love how we're just letting it run. I think it's cool. It's just a different approach. Wow, that was cool. So you need to create it. You need to create it. And that continues on in my business journey today, right? Like, how can I create it? So anyways, this season's been a roller coaster because the nursery's a whole nother game, projections, all these things. But we've learned a ton. And by the way, we've had so many more plants and so much more success. So we've been able to swap in new rounds of plants quickly and try new varieties. It's been amazing. However, we only use like a 15% footprint of this place. I walk around here, we're weed whacking and hitting the whole section and cleaning. And honestly, it's been a process. We've been here almost over 6 months now, and cleaning, and I said, anyways, I'd give this project 12 months. 12 months till it was like, okay, let's see where it's really at. And it was selling veggies, selling herbs. And it still is. We do plant sales, and we're at the market, and we sell, I mean, there's mulberries over here, and the iguana just actually hit like 100 of them. And that's part of the game, 100 of them. Now they'll come back, but we saved like 30 and brought them back to our other location. And my point is, each one of those are 20 bucks. We probably sold 100 of those this last just couple months at the markets. What is that, $2,000? Just a small little footprint of mulberries, and that's one crop. So anyways, I don't want to like cut it short. Like I also don't want to, I want to see a lot of these crops through. And some of them, like I look at this space, I'm like, how could we utilize this space? There's so much sun. It's already set up for it. Like I think bamboo. I think fruit trees. I think natives. I have someone local who lives super close. He said we'd be able to partner growing a bunch of those, and a lot of cities and stuff are using that now too because they're incentivized, which is amazing. But a little of all of it, there's all these ways we could use it, but I'm also just trying to be smart about, what we use it for. We could just start growing Calusia and sell it wholesale. I don't necessarily want to do that. We could wait till this lease is up, and then whatever, let the developers come and bring it in and do this smaller scale at a location, but I don't necessarily want to do that. Like it's prime land. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there to my audience. It's kind of a different type of video. Usually I'm, bringing guests on, and I want to do more and more of that because it's cool to show, like, kind of reveal where like people who are like really, really far down a certain kind of skill set or maybe, field, and then just like kind of hear how they look at things. So that's what I'm all about. We have that next week. And anyways, this week I just wanted to basically invite you guys to this nursery experience virtually. I know a lot of you are probably far, far away, but some of you might be close here locally and have some ideas. I'm definitely open to talking to people about, partnering or they're seeing how we could better use this space. I thought community gardens. I thought even like, you could, we rent a couple boats. I don't know the zoning, I don't know whatnot, but you rent a couple boats, you pay for kind of the whole place, and you could, I could show up to the market and give these plants away. So anyways, my mind gets turning about what's possible. Anyways, I was brought July for the whole story of this place. Long story short, is July 4th last year, I got a call from the vendor that we've been buying herbs from for many, many years. And I look up to this guy, Chris, shout out Chris out in Hawaii now. He was kind of selling his herb business. And he was going to try to sell everything with it, and he couldn't really find landscaper who was going to be all in and it line up. And he had to be out by fall. So basically he said, hey, you take the herb accounts, you're perfect for it. And that's how we teed it up. Wow, that bird just flew right past me. That was wild. And we teed it up. And I mean, it's been a blessing, shout out to Chris. So it's something I kind of wanted to come in and partially rescue, but also, Chris had something super cool nest egg built, but it was like, there was none of these plants were here. There was no inventory. And we basically have been finding cuttings and propagation and making it happen this season. So it's kind of going like the train is on the tracks, right? But it's like a lot of these, it takes time. There's 30 tables out here. That's just this little section. So my mind just gets turned, and man, like this kid, I digress. I'm just trying to paint the picture for you guys. We just sold 400 plants to this kid from Orlando. He probably paid for 200, 300 of them. I was just feeding him because a lot of these, plants, we're going to stop planting a lot of the greens and whatnot, tomatoes. So long story short is we took it on and we were doing wholesale selling, retail selling, and then we're just realizing, hey, this is really the play here is having it for our members and selling it at the market, selling it for community, doing sales seasonally. That's kind of what it's turned into. And it's been a beautiful thing. Like, hey, we can't maybe unload 10,000 herbs. A lot of these people spray, like we don't really spray. Like a lot of these nurseries, mites and stuff come in. So I've been here early mornings, just like looking after it. And by the way, rotating the crops. But like, look at these blessings. There's Rolinias coming up. There's eggplants for summer. We're starting turmeric. We're starting Egyptian spinach. We're starting like all these super cool crops. And I just don't want to take my foot off the gas. The whole reason, like I could be here 5 hours every morning, early morning before the sun comes up and see kind of stuff through until we get to that phase. But I also think it's like, man, A, that's not sustainable, right? Even though I'm down for it. But B, it's like, okay, if I have you can't have 2 full-time jobs. That's what I found out in my journey. The hard way, the easy way, whatever you want to call it. And if my full-time job, daytime, whatever, job is, and I realize I enjoy it. I mean, I'm blessed that I get to do that. I'm like, some people look at it as a chore, but I'm out there in the garden day to day, and that full-time job is working for Urban Abundance as installer, creative designer, kind of helping with research and development, and mostly with new onboards and helping with making sure people are taken care of and training. So if I'm doing that 8 to 6, it's good to kind of have other pieces in place. So we've been just like fielding kind of inquiries for this place, whether it's nursery partner, whether it's using it for other stuff. I've thought of community gardens. I've thought of trees. A lot of these are longer term plays, so it's like a deeper conversation. But it's one of those things where it's at the end of Q1, if you will, which is important to know. That's like, let's have intention about where we're going to go with this, because man, I learned a lot from Chris. I've learned a lot. I stood on the shoulders of giants, if you will, and there's more to learn. But just like blessing the community with plants is that solution. And that's kind of part of what I want to be a part of somehow, some way. And Urban Abundance needs plants. Maybe we don't need every single one of these, but throughout the year, we have over 100 garden members, and each one of those some of those have 4 gardens, some of those have 30 gardens, some of those most have a handful, just a 2 to 4. A lot of farm space. I think of us, we're like a network of farms. It's kind of amazing, and I'm humbled to say that. So, long story short, nursery in full effect. And I just want to invite you to, what we got going here, and see if this is something you guys want to, make happen, help evolve. Awesome video, y'all. I'm not even gonna cut that one up. I think it's just easy. We got the birds. But that's the main thing. If it doesn't exist, create it.